Ladies and gentlemen, my name is
Scott.
Hey, yo. Is that his younger brother? It's gonna be
Jeff.
The cream will rise to the top. Oh, yeah.
And you're listening to
all of the great action figures from our good friends at Hasbro.
The Fully Poseable.
Have your own WrestleMania with all your favorite figures.
Wrestling figure.
Each sold separately from LJN.
Podcast.
And we are the Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling.
Hey, welcome to episode 206 of the Fully Poseable Wrestling Figure Podcast, the longest running episodic wrestling figure podcast going today. Sitting alongside next to me is my real life brother, not storyline brother, Scott. Scott, say hello.
Hello.
Scott, happy belated Christmas. Did you have a good one?
I had an awesome Christmas. Good time spent with family, with friends. The presents have been opened. The front yard decorations have been put away. Super thankfully, the little elf that runs around our house at Christmas time has left. So, yeah, all in all, a fantastic Christmas with friends and family. Loved every minute of it. How about you, brother?
Christmas was good over here, man. I got to mention this, though. We're spending Christmas Eve together, and I asked Scott, I said, do you want to exchange gifts Christmas Eve, or do you want to exchange it Christmas Day? And Scott goes, let's do Christmas Eve. So I hand you the present from Celeste and I, and you open it up, and there's a t-shirt inside. You put the t-shirt on your lap, and there's a folded up piece of paper. You unfold it to reveal, and I'm going to, spoiler alert, the Jushin Thunder Liger Storm Collectibles. But you open it up, and instead of like your eyes popping or anything, you give me a scowl. Like, damn you.
Because I know how much that figure is, and I immediately was like, he spent too much money on me. And then on top of that, you got me the NJPW shirt from the San Jose show that's kind of like the Sharks logo on the front, has NJPW 7-2 on the back, so it's almost like a jersey shirt, which I loved. Like, that was the one if I had gone to the show, that's the one I would have purchased for myself. But I know how much that Jushin Liger figure is, as I've mentioned several times, and you bought it for me. So my first thought was like, dude, you spent way too much money. But aside from that, I'm super thankful that you got it for me. I cannot wait to have it in the collection. I love it. I love you for giving me that figure. You and Celeste both. I'm incredibly thankful for it. But the cheapskate in me immediately was like, dude, you spent too much on me.
So Celeste and I went into the holidays and we were scaling back our budget. But we had a budget for each person. And the shirt and the Liger figure fit into your budget. So I knew that was going to be your Christmas gift. I wanted something actually for you on Christmas night. So having that shirt worked out perfect for you and for your Christmas. So I thought those two things together were awesome. You're going to get the Liger figure in January because I ordered it from Entertainment Earth. They're shipping them in mid-January, which I'm cool with. I can wait.
I can't wait. That's going to be so awesome to receive that one.
What I love is James Frank got his in the mail and he put Brian Pillman and Jushin Thunder Liger in the Dusty ring.
Oh, dude, yes.
He did a little figure photography and it came out perfect, dude. I was like, oh, that's good, man. That's good. He's saying that might be the greatest figure of all time.
Wow. Okay, so I'm not going to dispute that at all. From all the pictures that I've been seeing, either through the prototype pictures that we saw at different conventions over the past year to the pictures of people with him inside of the packaging, man, it's going to be hard to argue. It's going to be one of those, when I get it in hand, I've got to set it up next to the Storm Hogans, and I've got to set it up next to the Macho Man San Diego Comic-Con and make a determination there. But yeah, I can't dispute that at all. If people are saying it's the best figure of all time from what I've seen, I can't argue with it.
As I said, we're getting ours in January from Entertainment Earth, and it's fine. I'm not one of those people that I need to have right now. It's cool. I can wait, you know.
Yeah, you know it's on the way. And not just that, Jeff, but you also got me the Don Morocco Survivor Series figure.
Yes.
So that was incredible. I guess we're going to go into a little bit of toy spotting here. You gave me the Becky Lynch Elite 72 that Christopher Dean picked up for us a few months ago. And what else did we have? Oh, some Eagle Moss statues that Michael over at Eagle Moss sent us early Christmas presents. So I have some more Eagle Moss statues now to add to the collection, as do both of us. So yeah, just super thankful again. It was an amazing Christmas. I hope each and every one of you had a great time with your families. I hope you guys were safe and sound out there. I hope you enjoyed your time. and that your holidays were incredible. So now the next step, time for New Year.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for tagging us in your tweets on Christmas Day, showing us your figure haul and everything that you received. It was awesome seeing what everybody was getting from. I saw somebody get old school LJNs. Actually, Brandon Hova got a white shirt LJN Hogan.
Oh, one of the best of them.
That he got a 1 of 3,000 superstar Billy Graham, where he was grayed out.
Nice.
And I forget what the other thing is. It's slipping my mind right now. It was fun seeing everything that everybody got because it was a wide range. It just wasn't Mattel. It was Jax. It was Hasbro. It was Remco. It was LJN. It was all across the board. Even Storm, James Frank got the Storm collectibles. It was all across the board, and it was so awesome to see that. And it was great seeing everybody happy and just ecstatic to get those figures. And that's what these wrestling figures do to us. They bring out the happiness in us.
And you've got to imagine, Jeff, getting a Hasbro or better yet, even an LJN and or a Remco for Christmas just has to take you right back to those late 80s to mid 80s Christmases, where you woke up Christmas morning, you raced downstairs, and Santa left you wrestling figures under the tree. You're shredding them open. You're opening the packages. You've got all these new loose figures laying around to have all these killer matches with. So you've got to imagine that takes you right back to those 80s Christmases. And man, that's just got to be awesome. I just love nostalgia.
I know. But you know what's funny, dude, is I don't remember many Christmases with wrestling figures because when it came to LJNs, Mom and Dad were right on the ball and they would get us those figures right away.
Remco's too.
Remco's as well, thank you. Then when it came to Hasbro's, you were getting a job. You had a job, and so you were grabbing the Hasbro's right away. So it didn't seem like wrestling figures were a big part of Christmas time because we already had them.
Yeah, we would get them as the year went along. It wasn't one of those where they had to be saved up for a birthday or a Christmas. In fact, Jeff, I can recall one of the few birthdays that I actually got a wrestling figure would have been when you found Dusty Rhodes Hasbro on the pegs. And I couldn't find him anywhere. I was getting really upset, and I guess you went out with Mom or Dad and found him on a peg and got him for me for my birthday. And that was actually the only time I ever saw him. If you hadn't grabbed him when you did, that might actually be a hole in our Hasbro collection. But you're right. We were more the type to stay on top of him as the year went along. We had no patience with us. It was always, when you find it, you need to pick it up right there because chances are good the next time you go to the store, it's going to be gone. Especially with later series of LJN and especially later series of Hasbro's. If you didn't grab it when you saw it, most likely the next time you went to the store, it was going to be long gone. So yeah, we were more on top of them as they released. But still, you've seen a lot of pictures over the years of people's old Christmas pictures, and they've got a ton of LJNs or a ton of Hasbro's out, even in some pictures, a ton of Jax. So getting those older figures, I would imagine for a lot of people, definitely takes you right back to those 80s and 90s Christmases.
And I do want to thank you, Shannon, and the kids. You got me the exclusive Undertaker is Kane figure, which is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, which, by the way, you didn't open it up that night. Well, not that you were going to open it up, but you were going to cut the piece of tape that kind of holds all the packaging together so you could open up to see the figure. Have you done that yet?
What?
See how you are? All you're going to do... I mean, look, the packaging itself is enough reason to not open the figure at all. Because it is incredible packaging. Not up there with Retrofest, but it's outstanding.
It really is.
But I want to know how the figure is. It was on my list based on the pictures that I had seen. And on top of that, the incredible packaging job that Mattel did with it. But I'm really curious, for a first-person perspective, you own the figure. I want to know what you think about the figure itself.
So do you want to know what I did when I got home on Tuesday night?
You probably just put it in your packaged up pile.
No. I got my cell phone flashlight and shined it inside to look inside to see how the figure is instead of cutting the tape.
You're unbelievable.
I knew as I'm doing it, I could just hear you ringing in my ear. I could just hear the curse words inflating my head from you, you know.
Cut the tape.
I don't want to.
You're using a cell phone flashlight to look at your figure. Through what? The eye holes in Kane's mask?
Yeah.
You need to get punched. You need to get punched. Celeste, if you're sitting next to him right now, can you punch him?
She will too.
Good. Punch him twice. That's unbelievable. You're looking through Kane's eye holes to see the figure. You can't get a good description off of that.
And the funny thing is I don't have fingernails, so I can't peel the tape back.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Oh, I know. I could just hear you in my head, dude, the other day. Actually, the other night, dude, we were sitting here and I had all my Christmas gifts and I was putting everything away. I got the gift cards, put all the gift cards into one pile. And so I got the Undertaker Kane figure and I walked to the back room and I was like, I want to see what the figure looks like. So I started tilting and looking through the eye holes. I was like, I really can't see much. So I got my cell phone flashlight and I'm shining it up in there. I was like, oh, that is pretty good. Like tilting it up.
From what I can see, this is an incredible figure.
By the way, have you gotten over the Macho Man being at number 7?
No, I'm still incredibly hurt about that. And I was hoping you wouldn't mention it so it wouldn't bring back a flood of hatred for you. But there you go. You had to mention it. And here comes the flood. And I'm very angry with you right now. Again.
By the way, for the listeners, let's peel back the curtain. I had to hear about it again on Tuesday night on Christmas Eve.
You did. Because that was my chance to see you face to face and let you hear about it again.
You're like, Merry Christmas, bro. Hug. Oh, we got to sign these 8x10s. Sign. Okay, let's talk about the Macho at number 7.
Yeah. The first order of business was not Macho Man at 7, but it was like the third or fourth order of business.
You had to sit down, mingle with everybody, and then I sat down on the couch behind you, and then you were like, okay, let's talk about Macho at number 7.
Yeah. We're bringing the rest of the family into this conversation. Come on, let's all team up on Jeff. You know nothing about wrestling figures, but let's team up on Jeff and tell him he's wrong.
But it was fun times on Tuesday night. It definitely was.
It really was.
If anybody would like to get any of our past t-shirts, head on over to Pro Wrestling Tees or whatamaneuver.net. Also, we have 8x10s available for you guys. We will officially sign them. They will have our Hancock on it.
Our what?
Hancock.
We didn't have Jason Wolf draw that. Oh, you mean our signatures?
Yes. We need to get stamps and start stamping our names.
That's funny. I just actually purchased an auto pen. We're going through so many of these things. I'm getting writer's cramp.
So yes, our 8x10s are for sale. Just slide into those DMs and hit us up if you are interested in one of those 8x10s. You can follow us on Twitter, YouTube, Snapchat, and the Book of Faces at FullyPoseable, Instagram, FullyPoseable WFP. You can go back and listen to any of our past podcasts, any of them at all, on FullyPoseablePodcast.com. Download that Podbean app if you are on the go. Stitcher, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Please rate and review on iTunes like this week from D Window. And it says, great niche podcast. Gave a sweet 5 stars. He says, I was late in discovering the podcast and must say that it is excellent. Great knowledge and discussion with an underlying feeling of nostalgia for older figures and excitement for upcoming releases. Definitely filled a void in the podcasting world. Thank you, D Window, for sending that over. We really buried ourselves into a little hole, Scott, where we were just talking about wrestling figures.
Yeah, 100%. And D Window, thank you so much for the kind words. We really appreciate the 5-star review. And you're absolutely right. We are a niche podcast. You saw a void, Jeff, where these figures, old and new, needed to be given some attention. And there was nobody out there doing a wrestling figure podcast. You saw the void. You and I jumped in. We filled that void for a few years. It's great to see all of this attention focused on old and new figures. The new figures obviously get a lot of attention because they're new. They're on the pegs. They're what you see every time you go to the store. But we see the excellence of those old figures, i.e. Remco's, LJNs, Hasbro's, Jack's, you name it. We want to keep the memory of those old figures alive. Just because you don't see them at the stores doesn't mean that they aren't incredible, just like the new figures are. So that's where we strive to come from. So we aim to give you guys both nostalgia and news. So thank you for the kind words. We hope that we're, as Jeff says, hitting all your senses with this show. And thank you again. And thank you to the listeners for jumping on board, for falling back into figure collecting. A lot of times we hear that from our show, Jeff, that people kind of fall off the collecting wagon and they listen to a few of our episodes and boom, they get the itch again. And not only that, but people that weren't familiar with older figures Like, we hear the Remcos, I think, most often, that people really weren't familiar with the Remcos, but then they go back and see some. Then they start adding them into the collection. That, to me, is the biggest reward of this show. In addition to meeting the listeners and making new friends, seeing people jump back into the collecting game, and not only that, but going back and familiarizing themselves with figures that they weren't aware of in the 80s when they were collecting LJNs, didn't know about Remcos, but now they know all about them, and they have some in the collection. It's such a rewarding feeling to know that we had a hand in that.
What's also great is people will go back and they'll be able to look at the older figures and go, okay, these were cool. Like the Remcos. The Remcos is a perfect example. A lot of people have gone back and gone, I just thought they were He-Man figures that dressed as wrestlers, but now they have a little bit more feel to them. And also same thing with LJNs. People will go back and look and go, okay, obviously for 1984 technology, which there wasn't none, it was just sculpting rubber. They really did a fantastic job. Look at the Hogan, look at the Bam Bam, look at the axe. Even though I didn't like the pose axe was in, I love the way the figure looked. Look at a lot of those figures, and they don't have the face scan technology, the motorized box. They didn't have that.
Right.
They had to do everything from hand. I mean, there's obviously the ones where you're kind of like, okay, hold on. Andre isn't the best.
Yeah, we're looking at you, Andre Series 1.
You know, but at the same time, you kind of go back and you respect what they had to do to put those figures out for the kids. What they did to provide for us back in the 80s was amazing.
Oh, it really was. And it's funny, Jeff, because you and I both agree, for us, that LJN is the best wrestling toy line of all time. People
Correct.
argue that it's actually not LJN, that it's Hasbro's. And that's where you and I have like LJN at 1 and Hasbro at 1A. Because I go back and I look, and I'm a firm believer that my love of LJN and me placing them at number 1 is almost all nostalgia based. I can look at an LJN figure or give me the 5 best LJNs and then give me the 5 best Hasbro's. Put them side by side, and somebody says Hasbro's are better. I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to argue at all. But I grew up playing with those LJNs, and I would say way more than the Hasbro's. So for me, LJNs are 1. But if anybody comes up and says you're wrong, Hasbro's are number 1, I really don't have an argument against it. For me, it's a 1 and 1A situation. It is such a narrow gap between 1 and 1A that if somebody leans towards Hasbro's, I say, you know what, you're right. I can't argue against Hasbro's, and I never will. Those are the 2 best. In my opinion, out of all of the toy lines that we've had for wrestling, it's LJN and Hasbro. That is 1 and 2 or 1 and 1A, and it's a pretty good gap to number 3. I would say probably, most likely, before all is said and done, Mattel's going to fall in at number 3 on that list. But really, for me, it's LJN, and then it's Hasbro. But it's a tremendous love in my heart for both of those lines.
A lot of people are going to say Mattel at number 1, and we get it. I mean, Mattel has done a fantastic job. I mean, the past few years, Mattel has crushed it and been at the top of our list. Look at the Harley Race, you know. That's a beautiful figure. Look at the King Mabel that I talked about last week. Beautiful figure. Mattel has done an excellent job. But for us, when you look back at what we were given back in the 80s, what if LJN would have had a motorized box? You know, what if they had this amazing True FX? What if in 1980 they had this thing? I think the figures would have looked a little bit better, but at the same time, they did not do a bad job at all on those figures. The John Studd, the poses that they had to put them in to keep them molded like that was amazing. And that's why Scott and I always hold LJN as the top. Now, granted, Hasbro came in and crushed it right behind LJN, but for nostalgia wins out on this show, LJN will always be the king in our books.
Well, let's not forget, too, that Mattel has had twice the number of years that both LJN and Hasbro had to run with the WWF/WWE license. Right? LJN ran from 84 until right about 1989. Hasbro picked up that ball in 1990 and ran with it until almost 1995. Mattel has had that license for now a decade. So, seeing where LJN was going to go with their line, we were supposed to get the articulated, almost G.I. Joe style in the LJNs. They were moving on towards those. We were going to get vehicles. They were starting to expand their line. That was all stuff that was on the table before they folded. And with Hasbro, they stretched out to include the Wrestling Buddies. They gave us some talking figures. So who knows, had the Hasbro line been given, LJN as well, had they been given an additional 5 to 6 years to continue, what else would we have gotten? How far would they have upped their game to maybe be in contention for one of the best toy lines ever, not just with wrestling, but ever? So it gets a little bit difficult to compare apples to apples, right? Because you also have to take into consideration how long the lines had to go. Like, Mattel's been given a long time to work with the WWE license, and they've done a tremendous job with it. But LJN and Hasbro had half of that. And I would have liked to have seen, if LJN and Hasbro were given an additional 5 to 6 years to continue, what other ideas would have come out of the box. It's cool to think about, and we could fit that into a prediction show at some point. But we've seen what Mattel had with 10 years. I'm saying I would like to see what LJN and Hasbro would have done with 10 years.
We're reminiscent, Scott. We've got to move along.
Was that filler? Are we guilty of filler? Are we just shooting the stuff here to fill a show?
Yeah, I told you, this is the downtime of the year.
Yeah, exactly. We don't even have news. Come on.
I know. We have no news segment this week, so... If you would like to send us any audio questions, or anything else at all, send it on over to fullyposeablegwfp@gmail.com. Scott, I do have a couple of omissions from last week.
A couple?
Yes, I do.
We're slipping. We must be getting old.
First one, when we were talking about buy, sell, trade toys when he sent in his listener question, I said Daniel. His name is Dylan, and he called me out on it, and I felt like the biggest tool. Because I knew it was Dylan, and for some reason during the show I said Daniel, and I knew it was Dylan again when I was editing, and I could have easily taken it out, but for some reason I just kept thinking I said Dylan. I don't know, dude. I don't know what the hell is going through my head, but I owe Dylan an apology for that one.
Sorry, dude.
That was my bad. Number 2, I felt that last week I left a couple of figures off my all-decade list and a couple of FTC figures that I felt that should have been included. One was the Dalton Castle from 2018.
Agree.
And the second was the Tama Tonga with the face paint from 2017. So I should have thrown those in on my honorable mentions.
But I don't think you did a lot of honorable mentions after like 2016. I thought you were kind of going just like one figure, boom, boom, boom. You had more honorable mentions for like the older years, but it seemed like when you hit 2016, you were just throwing out one figure. But yeah, no, I totally agree with your honorable mentions.
Correct. I should have thrown those into the honorable mentions, and that was my bad. I'm sorry, Chris. And dude, how crazy is it? Remember last week I said during the show, fingers crossed nobody finds Elite 73 on the pegs before the year end?
It's happening.
Guess what happened? Of course it happened. It had to have happened. People were finding Elite 73 on the pegs. So going forward, I think you and I need to have a cutoff date for when we are going to do our year-end awards. So I think we need to have just a strict cutoff date, and those are the series found on the pegs and off the pegs. So,
well, the same thing sort of happened last year with Elite 63. That one started to hit right at the end of the year, but we had already compiled our lists, and so we had to leave Elite 63 off until 2019. So that's where Elite 73 is going to fall in, is that will lead off our 2020 top 10 list, which, by the way, Jeff, I've already started a notepad on my phone for 2020 top 10 / honorable mention.
Ah, well done. Well done.
It's already starting for 2019, or I should say for 2020 in 2019.
So is the Jushin Thunder Liger going to be on there?
You know what? Right now, it stands at number 1. We still have a full calendar year to go, but that figure would be number 1. Kairi Sane would be number 2. Aleister Black would be number 3.
All right. Let's not get a year ahead of ourselves. Come on now.
Well, I know, but you can already see how this list is doing, right? Those are 3 incredible figures. Good luck other figures in 2020, because that's a pretty strong list already.
Before we go any further, I want to thank you for the Undertaker and Kane figure, Shannon as well, and the kiddos. I want to thank you guys for that.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for the NJPW shirt. I've already got it packed in my bag, going to San Diego with me. I haven't told my buddy Ed, who is one of the hosts on Drunk Wrestling History. He doesn't know I got that shirt yet because he saw it and sent a screenshot of it to me. He's like, dude, look at this shirt. I'm like, I know it's awesome. So I haven't told him that you got it for me yet. I'm just going to put it on in San Diego and watch his jaw hit the floor.
Every shirt I've gotten at a New Japan show is super comfortable. They do run a different size, so you have to kind of check with the people at the desks. I can't remember if they run a size larger than normal or a size smaller. I always get the two confused. But every shirt I've ever gotten from a New Japan show fits perfect. It's like a What a Maneuver shirt or a pro wrestling t-shirt. They just fit perfect. I love the way they just fit.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. My favorite shirts that I own are from What a Maneuver. They're just soft. They fit perfectly. I was going to ask you if they're anything like that.
Yes, they are like that.
Nice. Okay, now I can't wait to wear it.
Scott, we do have a listener segment. What do you say we jump into it?
Let's talk to him.
And I just want to hear from my people. Tell me, can I hear from my people? I just want to hear from my people. And I just want to listen.
Thank you, Bane, for those sweet melodic sounds. And before we get into the listener questions, Scott, you have some big news.
Breaking news. We need breaking news. There it is. As promised. Oh, you're still going. Okay, no, please continue.
No, go for it.
As promised last week, we have the official meetup location, date, and time. So here is the info. Friday, April 3rd. Also, that would be Jeff Toon's birthday. How old are you going to be, Jeff? 32?
Oh, man. I'm going to have things checked by a doctor. So anyways, go ahead.
If we were to put candles on a cake, it would be a fire hazard. April 3rd, Friday, from 4 to 6. Sorry, dude.
Oh, my God. Continue.
Friday, April 3rd, from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Tampa Stadium Wing House. We will be hosting the 3rd annual, what would be WFP? Fully Poseable? We'll go with the WFP. Hashtag Fig Life Meetup. Come one, come all. Bring your cameras. Bring your kids. It's family friendly. But just show up. Between 4 and 6 p.m. if you can arrive for 5 minutes and hang out. If you can be there for the full 2 hours. Whatever floats your boat. Whatever fits into your schedule best. Just be there. Come hang out, say hi, get a picture. We'll have goodies for you guys. It's going to be a blast. I can't wait. But again, Tampa Stadium Wing House, Friday, April 3rd from 4 to 6 p.m. Stop by, get a picture, get some goodies, wish Jeff a happy birthday, and let's have a drink.
I can't wait for this, dude. This is going to be so much fun. Each Fig Life meetup is always a blast. And this one's going to be no different. As April quickly approaches, I'm getting more and more excited for the meetup, for WrestleCon, for Mania, for NXT, for everything. I'm just getting more and more excited, dude. Cannot wait. This is a perfect time, but 4 to 6. This is a perfect time because it's right before SmackDown, kind of at the tail end of the first day of WrestleCon. After you get all your autographs, head on over to the Wing House. Everybody meet up, have a blast. Hopefully we can make it as good as that time in Arizona that we were talking about last week, Scott.
That's a tall order, but we'll see.
And just, if you guys are headed to SmackDown, get your pictures. Hopefully you get some goodies and some winnings and whatever. And then head on over to SmackDown. 4 to 6. I'm like Baby Yoda, dude. I'm going to be 50 years old.
Well, you're not that far along. Come on now.
Oh, that was close. Anyways, come on over, 4 to 6, the Tampa Wing House. I cannot wait, dude.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to see you guys. I'm super fortunate to be able to go this year or next year and meet all of you guys and have a drink, have some wings, tell some figure stories. We'll go nostalgia. There'll be prizes there, but it's going to be a blast. We've asked them to accommodate for 30. So as you guys are putting your schedules together, if you think you're going to be able to go, just shoot us a quick note and let us know so we can kind of start getting a head count that if it's going to go over that I can let them know. But right now we're locked in. We're good to go. The 3rd annual Fig Life meetup.
And just kind of peeking ahead, Scott, In 2021, the rumor is Los Angeles.
Road trip.
How great would it be, and how apropos would it be, to have the Fig Life meetup at Chica's Tacos?
Oh, dude. Yep.
Just saying.
Yep.
Just saying.
That would be perfect, because that was technically like the prequel to Fig Life Meetup number 1.
Yep.
So to have it there in that little outdoor area would just be awesome. And then you'd get some killer tacos on top of that. Good call, Jeff. I like it.
Yep. So that's 2021. That's ahead, but we're looking forward to the Tampa Weighing House. We want you guys to show up. Look, we've already kind of told them 30. We want more. Flood them. Flood them. We don't care. Bring 50. Make it 60. We don't care.
Yeah, they've got room.
The only thing I'd be scared of is that we didn't have enough of whatever prize we're giving away. That's the only thing, but we'll still make it right.
Yes, we absolutely will. But as you guys start to put your schedules together for Tampa, just shoot us a quick note. Let us know if you're able to come at all. Even if it's 5 minutes, put yourself down as a yes. We just want to have a more accurate head count. We've estimated 30, but if it's going to go over, I just want to give them a heads up.
So again, Friday, April 3rd from 4 to 6 p.m. Scott, our first audio question comes in from good brother Aaron Shetty. Aaron, hope you and the kiddos had a great Christmas. Let's get into your audio.
Hey, Jeff and Scott. Aaron here from Toronto. Hope you guys are well. Just wanted to send in a quick signing story. Last weekend, I took my boys to see Vicky Guerrero. She was doing an appearance just outside of Toronto in Oshawa. It's like half an hour from where I live. So we made the drive. It was a really small venue. It was like a little Comic-Con that they had going. So she was the guest there, and she couldn't have been nicer. Like, I had never met her before. So it was just, and it was relatively close. So I thought it would be worth checking out. And we ended up getting signed 2 things, actually. The first was the battle pack with her and Dolph. So she autographed that in the paint pen. And then I also ended up getting the Eddie Guerrero Chase, like the El Jan style Jax figure. So that was one I kind of thought about it. I wasn't sure, if I should or not. And then I actually talked to Drew, and he recommended it. So I went with his advice and got that signed. But yeah, so for anybody that gets the chance, I couldn't recommend meeting her enough. I mean, she was just really cool, especially to the kids. Like, she was really nice to them, and just took her time with everyone that came out. And we ended up getting a nice photo op and stuff with her. So just a quick signing story for this time. Next month, if all goes well, we've got Ron Simmons coming up here for a signing, so I'll send you guys a report for that too. And so I just wanted to again say thanks. And also, if you guys have the time too, like a sort of a question will tie into it, what you guys think about getting figures signed that isn't necessarily of the person. So in this case, I got Vicky to sign the figure of Eddie, because I've seen people, like, for example, not long ago, someone posted a figure of the Macho Man. It was like a Macho Man figure, but they got Lanny Poffo to sign it, because obviously Macho Man can't sign it, right? So there are cases like that where the person has passed away, and and I know that I think there's a convention coming up in New Jersey too, where I think Andre the Giant's daughter is going to be there. So I had some of the guys that said they wanted to get her to sign some stuff of Andre the Giant. So I guess it comes down to preference, right, of what you guys think on that. But yeah, just a little question to throw it out there and open up some discussion. Let me know what you guys think. And again, thanks for everything you guys do. Just really enjoy the podcast, and Merry Christmas to you guys and to the family. And thanks again. We'll talk soon.
Thank you very much, Aaron, and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year to you and your family as well. I really agree with you on Vicky Guerrero. When I met her at StocktonCon this past August, she couldn't have been a nicer person. Really took her time, and we paid her for the signature. She signed her basic figure in pink paint pen, even wrote "excuse me" on there, put an inscription, even though I didn't ask for it. She put it on there. Really took her time with the kids, introduced herself, and said hi to them, and complimented Alana on her makeup, and just couldn't have been nicer. So, Aaron, I completely agree with you. If you have the chance to meet her, go out of your way to do it. You will not be disappointed. Regarding your question about having someone sign a figure even though it's not their figure, I've actually done that several times, and I've told the story on the show a few times about how when I met Road Warrior Animal, I had him sign the Classic Superstars 2-pack, and I had him sign over on Hawk. And I also did that when I met Sting. I did that on the basic battle pack, where it's him and Ultimate Warrior not as the Blade Runners, but as the two individual stars, but you know that they're the Blade Runners. I had Sting sign his portion, and then over Ultimate Warrior, he wrote Blade Runners. So I've done that a couple times. I highly recommend doing it, especially in cases where it's a tag team where one of the members has passed. It's kind of cool to get the other tag team partner, if they're okay with it, to sign over. Now, Lanny Poffo signing over Macho Man's or Andre the Giant's daughter signing on her father's, I would say yes, go for it. Reason being, that's a direct blood relation. And for your purposes, Aaron, of having Vicky sign on an Eddie Guerrero figure, I don't see any issue with that at all. I would 100% do it. I think it's a great respect that you're paying to your figure to have direct blood, or in this case, a spouse sign over the figure. And it's just a great look on the wall, I think, too, especially if they put some sort of message on there. I think it adds a lot to the figure itself. And I mean, look, if you're not going to sell these things, if you're not doing it for a resale value, you're just doing it for your own personal collection, it's what you want to do, I say go for it.
You're 100% correct right there. If you guys want to do that, if you guys want to get an Andre figure signed with his daughter's signature over the figure, go for it. If that's what's going to make you guys happy, that's all that matters, is your guys' happiness. For me personally, I would not do it. It's not for me. And again, everybody is a different cup of tea, but however, the way Scott did his 2-packs with Warrior and Sting and the Road Warriors, I thought that was a very clever way, because he had Sting sign Sting, but over Warrior, he had him sign the tag team name, Blade Runners. Or in the Road Warriors case, he signed Animal and signed HOF. What did he sign? HOF 2011?
Correct.
I love that. The way that the Warrior and the Sting came out was beautiful. The way that signature comes out, and that would be one of my favorite autographs if I had that in the collection, Scott. But for a blood relation to sign on a figure of someone else, it just isn't for me. But again, it all comes down to your happiness. If that signature is going to make you happy, that's all that matters.
I think especially if they leave a message on there somehow. Like they write something about their father or their brother, or in Vicky Guerrero's case, about her husband. I think that would add something extra to it too. And I don't know that a lot of resellers listen to this show. I think it's more people that are adding these figures with these signatures to their own collections to hang up on the wall or on a shelf. So in that case, I would say absolutely do it. If it's going into your, absolutely do it.
And regarding Vicky Guerrero, she's one of the best people you could get an autograph from. If you have a figure of her, or you can go back and get a basic figure or a 2-pack like Aaron did, do it. And then if you see her at a convention, get her autograph. She's one of the sweetest people to meet.
She really is.
Celeste and I met her back in Orlando for WrestleMania 33, and she was so sweet, man. She was so nice. And the way she took her time with everybody, I mean, it wasn't so long that she held up the line, kind of like Bailey style at Cricket Wireless, Scott.
Yeah, or Piper.
Oh, yeah, yes, or Piper too. But it was a nice interaction and something that you're like, this lady is such a sweetheart. She is so nice. So if anybody can meet Vicky Guerrero, if you get the chance to, if she's coming to your area, go. Get a basic figure offline, whatever you want to get signed, an 8x10, whatever it may be. But I recommend going to see her because she is such a sweetheart. So, Aaron, I'm glad you and the kiddos had a great time. Scott, next question comes in from Josh Thompson. Hey, Jeff and Scott, JT here, back with the weekly submission. This time around, guys, I want to share with you my predictions for 2020 concerning wrestling figures. These predictions are going to cover all wrestling companies from Mattel to FTC to Boss Fight and Super 7. Starting off with Mattel, I think chances are looking good that WWE will re-sign with them. Yes, 2019 and even 2018 was a bit rough for Mattel, but they've really held up and tried to please everyone they could. Furthermore, I think WWE marketing knows that AEW will gladly approach Mattel with a deal once WWE is up. Concerning FTC, I think 2020 is going to be a good year for them. FTC mentioned that they're moving factors in order to hopefully produce wrestling figures a bit more quickly. And if successful, I think that we will see that in late 2020 or early 2021. Obviously, they won't be producing figures at a Mattel-like speed, but we should see some more figure releases from them here and there. 2020 is already a big year for Boss Fight and Master Republic and Super 7 with their figures debuting. And I think Boss Fight Studios will be giving us some more figure news on their end. As for Super 7, I don't see us getting any new figure news, New Japan-wise. Only because I can imagine that the folks over at New Japan want to see how the first set of figures do before giving Super 7 the green light to do more. Obviously, I could be wrong, and I kind of hope I am, since I'd like to know what Series 2 has in store, but we'll have to wait and see. Funny you mentioned that, JT. We actually have a prediction segment for the end of the show. But regarding your predictions, I don't think you're too far off. I do foresee Mattel and WWE re-signing, although the contract's supposed to run to the end of 2021, so we still got another almost 2 years left on that deal. They might do an extension. They might re-up. So that might be a thing that does happen. Super 7, I think they're going to have some big news for us. What it is, I don't know, but I think that they're going to stay in the wrestling game. And same thing with Boss Fight. They've got Wave 1 coming out with Penta and Phoenix, Wave 2 with Conan, and they've already got up to Wave 3. So 2020 is going to be an insane year for us. I think there's going to be a lot of us that are going to be like, okay, do I really need this Elite because I need to save my $20 for something that maybe FTC is putting out or something that Master Republic is putting out, Boss Fight Studios. I think that there's going to be a lot of allocating of funds to kind of make up for figures that we desperately want this year because there are a lot of hands in the pot right now.
I don't want to tip my hand too much. I love that JT sent this question in on the very same episode we have predictions set as a segment. So I'm not going to tip my hand too much, but I will say I agree with what JT has to say. And I'm just going to add more to that, to what he said during our prediction segment.
Man of so many words.
Yeah, I'm offering riveting stuff here, aren't I?
Scott, we do have a nostalgia segment. We are going to do Defining Moments Series 4. Are you ready for this?
I think I'm ready for this. Is that how the song goes? I think I'm ready for this. Dun, 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 dun. Isn't it something like that?
Let's hit Bane's music.
What's up, trivia lovers? It's your pal Ryan Buds, host of the Trivia with Buds podcast, a pop culture question and answer show that comes out every single day. There's over 650 episodes to check out on just about every topic you can imagine, with recent episodes on NBC sitcoms, The Breakfast Club, Disney Plus, Stephen King books, and Nickelodeon, just to name a few. Find Trivia with Buds on your favorite podcast app and hit subscribe to never miss an episode. P.S. It's great for road trips. Cheers.
Time for nostalgia. We're going back in time. Nostalgia.
Scott, we are hitting up Defining Moments Series 4. Why don't you go into it?
Yes, Mattel WWE Defining Moments Series 4 consisted of 2 figures. First up, Undertaker. And this Undertaker was from Survivor Series 1996. And he had a black vest, black quote-unquote bat wings, and he had the black teardrop underneath his eye. Second up, Stone Cold Steve Austin from a Raw in March of 1999. He was packaged with a camo jacket, Austin 316 shirt, chain, and ball cap, and he was in jeans. And again, that is Stone Cold from Raw in March of 99. And that rounds out Defining Moments Series 4.
Doing the eBay listings. For The Undertaker, there was 9 listings on eBay that were between 110 to 180. You know what kills me, dude, is I saw these all the time and I wasn't impressed with them. I didn't really care for the Austin. Same thing, like previous Defining Moments. I just wasn't impressed with some of them, and I just blew right past them. Now they're going for a major bank. It just drives me nuts. I was like, how did I not see this one coming?
Well, but you weren't necessarily just buying figures because you thought that they were going to escalate in value, right? When you were looking at the Defining Moments on the shelves, they had to mean something to you. It wasn't just, right. Oh, I think this figure is going to be a lot in a few years, so I think I'll just pick it up. You've never really been that kind of collector. You're more of the school of thought that, or the train of thought, that the figure has to hold some meaning to you, especially given your figure budget back in 2010, 2011 when you were seeing these on the shelves. I'm the same way. I agree with you on both of these figures that neither one really jumped out at me as a true defining moment. It wasn't something that necessarily meant a lot to me, so I passed on both of these. Because I've never really been of the mindset either that, oh, these figures are going to be worth quite a bit in a few years, I should grab one now. I don't usually buy figures based on that. I'm more nostalgia, meaning, does it mean something to me? Did it mean something when it happened? If so, I'd be more inclined to pick it up, but neither of these did, so I passed on them both as well, Jeff.
I look back at these and I'm like, what is it about that Taker that makes it $110 to $180 figure? It just doesn't compute with me. I just don't understand it. But what may not compute to me, somebody else is out there 2 houses down from me just going bonkers trying to win this eBay auction. So,
oh, for sure. Yeah. Everything is different to everybody. So, to each their own. Just for us, for our collecting purposes, these two were a pass. But I will say that Undertaker out of the packaging, which neither you or I would ever do, but out of the packaging, that is a great looking Undertaker with those bat wings fully extended out. Looks very, very cool.
I'm trying not to giggle when you say bat wings extended.
Not to be confused with the bat wings from the movie Waiting, which if you are familiar with that, I apologize. Because there goes a visual.
Scott, for the Austin, there was 2 eBay listings as of today. One was for $150 and the other was for $180. I remember Nicholas Jacoby getting this figure signed back in New Orleans at WrestleCon. Dude, it looked beautiful when he got that signed. It just looked amazing, dude.
It's a cool figure. To me, it wasn't something that really jumped out as a defining moment for me, meaning it didn't have a lot of special value to me emotionally. I had no ties to it, so it was a pass. But you're right. When you see it signed, you're like, oh man, now I've got to consider if I ever meet Austin, do I want to go to the secondary market and pick this figure up? For me personally, I would be more inclined to pick up the Jakks Classic Superstars that had all of the title belts in with that Stone Cold.
Yes.
That would probably be the one I would go to the secondary market for, but I agree with you. Nick Jacoby's Stone Cold looks sweet. Hand signed.
So what killed me was when Austin was announced for WrestleCon back in New Orleans, I looked for that Steve Austin with all the belts and with the Hall of Fame placard and everything. And I saw it, and it was going for about $110. And I kind of thought, I was like, it'd be cool to meet Stone Cold and get that figure signed. But at the same time, with Stone Cold's autograph and that, I would be about $400 in the hole, $300 in the hole.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm going to pass. I'm not going to get that. That figure, I'm seeing it on eBay now. I've only seen a couple of listings as of late, and it's already up to about $220. If I would have purchased it, one, I would have been happy and never resold it, but I mean, it's already gained $110 in value in a couple years.
Yeah, and I don't know if that has anything to do with the toys that made us, but I'm going to say at least part of that increase in value is due to the toys that made us. It has to be. I think that that's going to happen across the board, and we kind of touched on that when we talked about that episode. But what that does is now you're on Netflix with wrestling figures that a lot of people had growing up or were collecting, and now they're seeing them again, maybe after getting out of the game, and they don't listen to podcasts, but they watch Netflix documentaries. Now they're seeing those figures again, and they're like, oh yeah, it would be cool to go back and get some of those. And I think at least part of that value increase that you see, Jeff, is directly due to the toys that made us.
We're going to be seeing that for a little bit.
I agree.
I don't foresee figures going down in price anytime soon.
No.
Unless people just fall on hard times and they just need to sell off some figures and you may come across something. But knock on wood, that doesn't happen to that collector. But I agree, we are going to be seeing that for a while. What did you think of overall of these figures, Scott? I mean, I know that as far as memorable moments to you, they just weren't hitting us, but what did you think of the figures overall?
The figures are great, dude. I mean, honestly, like, I go back and look at them now, and while I passed on them when they first hit the shelves for the reasons I've already discussed, I look at them now, almost 10 years later, 9 years later, and I appreciate the attention to detail that Mattel put into these figures, specifically the Undertaker, which is my favorite out of these two. As mentioned, when you take that figure out of the packaging, go look at some loose images of this figure. It's outstanding. They got his outfit perfectly. They've got the eye drop tattoo or the black teardrop tattoo on his face. The wings extended off of the figure itself are phenomenal. So in the packaging, it's good. Out of the packaging, it's 100 times better. They really got his outfit perfectly. The Stone Cold, the attention to detail is there. It's cloth goods on the jacket, but for me was a pass. That was not a memorable moment for me at all. I had no ties to that figure emotionally, nostalgia-wise, so it was a pass for me. I go back and look at it now. It's cool. It definitely gains cool points, though, when you see it hand-signed, as you mentioned with Nick Jacoby in New Orleans a couple years ago. That definitely increases the cool factor of that figure a lot. The signature looks great on that figure.
Scott, that rounds out the Defining Moments Series 4. We are going to round out this show with some predictions.
Let's predict away.
Scott, we are going to go predicting here, but before we do, we did get a question. It comes in from @BallTellsHalfTruths on Twitter. He called it Figures, Fig, F-I-G-Y-E-A-R-S. That's nice. I like the way he did that. Figures resolution. Idea is, what do you want to do in 2020 wrestling figures related? Whether it's finishing a line or start collecting a line, hardcore collecting a specific wrestler, a specific figure that's eluded you that you vow to get, something you want to get signed, can have people write in each week and go through what person figures resolution is and how far they are away from completing it. So one, I do like that idea. If you guys want to write in and tell us what figures you guys are going to go after, whether it's a specific wrestler, maybe it's Tom Zink, and you guys want to collect all the Tom Zink figures, write into us. We will read it. What are you laughing about over there?
That would be the quickest collection ever. You're like, Galoob, purchased, and done.
But if you guys want to write in and tell us what you guys are going after this year in 2020, send it on in. We'll read it. So I like that. Scott, what are your figure goals for 2020?
Dude, mine is very simple. I want to get my front room set up with my video games, meaning the old consoles and all of the wrestling games, with a television in addition to several display cabinets where I can start putting up some of my loose figures. And I want to make it kind of like, not really a man cave, but just like my area where it's got my old video game systems, it's got my loose wrestling figures. Maybe I can even have a little spot set up where I've got my WrestleMania 2 ring with the cage. I could put a couple of figures in there. I just want to have something set up to where I kind of have like my space. Like my hallway upstairs is littered with boxed figures, signed figures, the big Kevin Owens thing that you got me a few years ago. That's all in my hallway upstairs, but I want to kind of have an area where it's dedicated to my video games and my loose figures. So that is my goal for 2020, is to get my front room set up with all of that. I don't really have a specific guy I'm going after in terms of like collecting all of his figures. I don't have an old line I'm looking at completing. It is strictly, I want to have an area set up for myself, my loose figures, and my old video game systems.
Ooh, I like what you're doing over there.
Thank you. Hopefully it happens in 2020. We'll see.
How close are you to doing that?
Dude, I haven't even taken the first step. So 2020 for me, I'm hoping to at least take that first step into making that happen.
Your first step is to draw a diagram and lay everything out.
Schemes and schematics.
Exactly.
Blueprints, if you will.
For 2020, I'm looking into those Hyper Hero Share-A-Pro figures.
Ooh.
I would like to add a few more of those figures to my collection.
Very nice.
There are some rare LJNs that I would like to acquire that I'm looking at, but again, it's all depending on funds, if I can do it or if I can't do it. Obviously, try to keep up with Mattel. They're pumping out figures left and right, but I want to try to keep up with the best I can while still being able to get the boss fight figures, which I have pre-ordered, so that's all taken care of. The New Japan figures, that's all taken care of. And whatever else is on the horizon for these companies. And for the FTC figures that they have coming out, there are a lot of figures. I want to get the Jay White figure that's coming out. I want to get the Bandito figure that's coming out. So I've got and Juice Robinson too. So it's all about allocating funds this year. That's what it's going to come down to, while still sprinkling in some older figures, maybe the Hyper Hero Share-A-Pro figures, and some old school LJNs that I'm kind of keeping in the back of my mind. So that's kind of what I'm kind of on the hunt for this year. Plus, there are some things that are going on as far as financial wise that we need to do to the house. So there may be, I can just pick up 2 figures out of an elite set, and then I'm going to just have to call it good. It's all about allocating funds, and that's what I keep mentioning for 2020 because there are so many hands in the pot right now.
Yeah.
Plus, you got to live life. You've got to go take a vacation. You've got to go finish up a house project. You've got to allocate your funds wisely. And so that's kind of what I'm doing for 2020 is sprinkling in some old figures, keeping up with the elites, Super 7, Boss Fight, and FTC. I will be picking some of those up too.
Goals.
Scott, I told you a couple weeks ago to start thinking of predictions. This is what we're going to do is we're going to talk about predictions that we think might happen in 2020. We're not saying it is going to happen. We are predicting. So Scott, why don't you throw one out there?
First prediction, the wallet heat for all of us in 2020 is going to be insane, almost to the point of being unbearable. There are so many new players in the game, as we've mentioned several times during even this show, not to mention over the last month or two of the shows. But FTC, they're going to be rolling out a ton of figures in 2020. I mean, a ton. Super 7 is rolling out the NJPW line, at least Wave 1. Boss Fight Studios is going to be rolling out at least Wave 1 in 2020. Not to mention everything that Mattel has in the hopper for us this year. And who knows what Storm Collectibles is going to be coming out with as a surprise this year, as Jushin Liger was in 2019. The wallet heat, Jeff, to kind of tie into your goals for 2020, is going to be insane this year. So that is my first prediction. Wallet heat, man, our back pockets are going to be on fire this year.
So let me ask a question to you, Scott. Who do you think is going to take the brunt and maybe lose a few dollars because of so many hands in the pot and the wallet heat?
The easy answer is Mattel, because now that there's new players out there, they're going to be taking a chunk out of that huge purse that is the wrestling figure market. Really, it was FTC and Mattel. And Mattel, being the mass producers that they are, had a huge chunk of that purse. Now, you've got these other players that are jumping in, and they're all going to take their share of that purse. There's only so much money that can funnel into the wrestling figure pool. Right? It kind of is what it is at this point. Now you've got these other guys jumping in, the new players, if you will, being Super 7 and Boss Fight. So they're now going to be taking a chunk out of that purse that formerly, mostly, belonged to Mattel. So I think Mattel is going to be the one that sees a little bit of a dip, but I don't think it's going to be super noticeable. At least right off the bat, will not be super noticeable.
Okay. The very good answer, dude. I agree with you. But like you said, it's not going to be a huge noticeable dip. It's just going to be a small one.
Well, there's not a huge amount of figures coming out from those other companies. FTC is the only one that has a mass of figures coming out, but Super 7, as far as we know, only has the 4.
Correct.
Boss Fight only has the 2, and they're going to be released sporadically. So it's not going to be a noticeable chunk right off the bat, but it will be a chunk taken out.
Scott, my first prediction is we are getting a Fiend figure.
It's not a bold prediction. We already knew that. Will you stop?
I'm just kidding. I'm just kind of poking fun at like a couple months ago when Bill said, we're working on a Fiend figure. Okay, that's kind of funny. Because if you weren't working on a Fiend figure, then something ain't right.
Yeah, that would have been shocking news. We have no plans to make a Fiend. What?
My first prediction is I agree with JT. Mattel and WWE are going to re-up, because if they don't, as of right now, we don't know, but if AEW has not signed a contract with anybody to make toys, I think that they would be going after Mattel. But
no brainer.
That's a whole different subject regarding AEW. My personal opinion, AEW's already signed a contract.
Oh, so that's a prediction right there.
My prediction is in 2020, they will announce who's making their toys.
And who will that be?
Honestly, Hasbro.
Yeah, when I was thinking of predicting who AEW was going to go with, I actually have 2 predictions on that. The safe bet, I agree with you. The safe bet is Hasbro. Hasbro's an established name. They make incredible toys. They're kind of a no-brainer. Like, if WWE, to kind of echo what you were saying, Jeff, if WWE were to ever leave Mattel, AEW would jump right into bed with them. There's no doubt. Mattel has a proven track record with wrestling. That track record is solid. AEW would make a smart business decision and would partner up with Mattel. That's not going to happen because, again, I agree with you. Mattel is going to re-up with WWE. That leaves Hasbro as the next logical toy company. Big, great products, proven track record. That is the smart pick for AEW. I have a dark horse prediction.
Okay, let's see if your dark horse is the same as mine. Go ahead.
I'm going to say Jax. Jax has a proven track record with wrestling. They're not really doing wrestling figures right now. They've done them in the past. They had great success. They carried that line for almost 15 years. I think that if Hasbro is not there for AEW, Jax could be.
Okay, that's actually a lot better than what I was thinking. I was thinking Bandai.
Oh, wow. Okay.
When you mentioned Dark Horse, the first person that came to my head was Bandai, but you make more sense with Jax. And I think Jax would go in and retool some things to make their figures more of, I hate to say this, but more of an elite scale type figure.
Well, that seems to be the standard now. It really seems that Mattel, with their elite scale, has set the standard for what wrestling figures are. Because we've seen, I'm not going to say that all these guys are copying them, but we've seen FTC follow suit with, while they're using more Jax style bodies, scale-wise fall close to the elite scale in terms of height. But we've seen specifically Boss Fight and Super 7 both fall in line with what is the elite scale. So that seems to be the standard. So I would agree with you, Jeff, that should Jax pick up the AEW line, as I'm predicting with a Dark Horse pick, they will fall in line with that elite scale. But another prediction with that is we're not just going to get the elite scale figures. While I can see single and multi-packs coming out in those, i.e. single and 2-packs for tag teams, I can see them going in different directions as well, meaning different scales of the figures, maybe something smaller, not quite like a reaction style like Super 7 does, but a different playable scale to fall in line more with the affordable market, how Mattel does with Elite and basic pricing. I can see maybe Jax doing something similar to that, where they have a collector-driven product, and then they have your more affordable, mom, can I get this figure type of product.
They need to go back to 2006, 2007 pricing too, because I remember going to find a Jax Classic on the pegs, and it was $12.99.
Yes.
$13.99. I wish they would go back to that pricing, dude, because that was awesome.
Well, yeah, I agree with you, but if Classic Superstars existed today, they'd be elite prices.
Yeah, I know.
And their Ruthless Aggression line would be more in scale with basic pricing.
Correct. The Deluxe Classics, the Deluxe Aggression, those would probably be in elite style. So,
oh, for sure.
Scott, what's another prediction from you?
Another prediction is we're going to see a Firefly Funhouse playset. And while that may not be like a bold prediction, it's a prediction nonetheless. I think Mattel would totally miss the boat if they didn't do something with the Firefly Funhouse, because that playset screams toys. Doesn't it? He has these little snippets every week that take place in a funhouse until Seth burned it down. But that just screamed Mattel playset. All of the cast of characters, the backdrops, everything about it just screamed, make me a playset, and I think Mattel is going to make that happen.
How do you think they're going to make it? Is it going to be like something similar to what they were doing with the Epic Moments sets?
It will be something like that, yes. Much like it was going to be with the Ultimate Deletion playset. It'll be something along the lines of that, where it comes with a Bray in his sweater and pants, like his Mr. Rogers look. It'll come with the cast of characters. It'll come with some sort of backdrop. And I think you're going to see that from Mattel in 2020. I think that they would miss the boat if they didn't have something along those lines coming out.
Prediction for me, I think retros are coming back.
This soon?
Yes. I think that the retro hiatus is basically them kind of going back and figuring out what they need to do to fix what was wrong before. And I think that they're going to realize some stuff, like they need to make female figures. They need to make a steel cage. They need to make accessories with these retros, because these retros are still hot. People are scooping them up left and right. Now, I don't know if they're going to sit on them for another 25 years like they did with the original Hasbros, and then hopefully they garner a lot of value. But people are scooping them up left and right, and they're selling. So my prediction is the retros will be back in 2020.
Wow. Okay, so my next prediction was the exact opposite of that. In that we're not going to see retros again until 2021. And I would imagine that'll be a big announcement for them leading in, for them being Mattel. A big announcement from Mattel stating that retros are live again beginning in 2021, and it's going to be not retail based. It'll be an online only option through various online retailers or one specifically, but it's going to be online only, and they won't release them as often as they did. They're going to scale back how often the releases come out, but they're going to increase the number of figures per release from 4 to 6. In addition, Jeff, agreeing with you that we're going to see some accessories that are going to come out. There will be women figures. There will be a cage for the ring. There could even be a ring cart, but we will start to get accessories for those retro figures, but not until 2021. That's when I see the relaunch of the retro line coming back.
I'm hoping that Mattel doesn't do the way of Jakks. Remember when Jakks kind of knew that they were on the outs back in 2008, 2009? And their products just became pure crap.
Yeah.
There was a lot of things missing. Detail wasn't there.
It was repaint city.
It was bad. And it was almost like Jakks knew that they were losing that contract come 2010, January 1st, 2010. It was almost like they knew that was gone and that they were going to be ousted. It was like Chinese New Year for the last year and a half, you know? So I'm hoping Mattel doesn't go that way if they don't re-up that contract.
Well, but going back to the predictions, everything points towards Mattel re-upping with WWE. I don't see that relationship ending. They are on such a streak right now of great figures. Distribution is what it is, but there are so many great figures coming out from Mattel that I don't see that relationship ending. They are on a huge upswing right now, and I see this relationship going until at least 2025. So when they go to re-up, I see it going another 4 to 7 years. Who knows? It could even go through to 2030. And you would have WWE with one figure producer for 20 years at that point, which would be incredible. Because again, you're kind of opening up the door now over the next 10 years to see what Mattel can really do. Let's see what the brain trust, what ideas shoot out of that box. And I'm excited for it. I don't want to see WWE change hands again. I think that they're in great hands with Mattel once distribution gets fixed. And moving forward, I think that is WWE's best option.
I just don't want to see collectors bow out again, because it seemed like between Jakks and Mattel, they lost a lot of collectors. Like, a lot of people were like, I'm done. Yeah. I'm done collecting. I can't start another company. I just can't do it. For the sake of the collectors, I hope they stay with Mattel, because I don't want to see collectors bow out and go, I can't do this again. I can't go through another change like I did between Jakks and Mattel. And that's what happened. Is you hear a lot of people go, yeah, I was almost done collecting between Jakks and Mattel. And Mattel brought me right back with X figure, whatever figure it may have been, where they saw it on the pegs and they were like, oh my God, this is great. I need to buy it. And then it's a slippery slope once you grab that first one. So I don't want to see that happen. So I think Mattel and WWE are re-upping. And I do think that the retro line is coming back. I think they're going to announce it. I think they just needed a year break to kind of refix some things.
I hope you're right.
I'm not, I don't want to say it's going to be San Diego Comic-Con where they re-announce it, or it is, they might drop a hint at Access. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't want to make that prediction, but retros are coming back in 2020.
My next prediction, Jeff, is that the Masters of the Universe line is only for 2020. It will not go past 2020 into 2021. I don't think that line is going to be super popular. Now, personal feelings aside, that's a decision or a prediction I'm making based on what I've seen so far in terms of peg warmers. But I think the figures themselves are incredible. I did see the ring with the John Cena and Triple H figures. I love the figures. I think that there is so much attention to detail on them. It's a different scale. It's a very cool look. I love the idea and the love that's gone into making this like a Masters of the Universe WWE line. You're really mashing those two properties together in a true love letter to both. But I just don't see the collectors maintaining this line and pumping enough money into it to make it last past 2020. I think that in 2021, there's going to be a different mashup that they move forward with. And this line specifically is only going to carry through 2020.
I kind of agree with you with that one. Although I will say a few people, quite a few people, when they were showing off their figure hauls from Christmas, a lot of people did get the Masters of the Universe ring, and they got a couple figures to go along with it, a Triple H I saw.
As to be expected.
But I think you're right. I don't think it's going to be enough to get them through. It may be 1 or 2 series and done.
Agree, because as more figures come out, I think that more collectors are going to be falling off. And no small reason is because of the new players in the game, Super 7, Boss Fight. They both have high price point figures, FTC, $30 range, Mattel Elites, $20. With all of those new figures coming out, lines like the Masters of the Universe / WWE mashup, that could be one of the first ones where collectors are like, you know what? I really want to get these 4 new Masters of the Universe figures, but man, I really want this Okada and Ishii figure, so I'm going to get those instead. I could see something like this that is really a niche product and really is a nostalgia-driven mashup. I can see that being one of the first one that falls off people's budget list.
Scott, my next prediction is going to make you happy, if come true, obviously. It's a prediction. In 2020, we are getting Road Warrior figures.
Oh, okay. So, next question, who's making them?
Okay, I'm really banking all my money into this. And this is a very bold prediction. I'm going to say Storm.
Oh, dude. So that's funny because I actually have a Storm prediction coming up as well, but I hope that you're right. Could you imagine, because they've gotten the body style so right on Hogan, you could almost use that same body type for the Road Warriors? Maybe you need to slim it down a little bit for Hawk. But man, you start imagining the possibilities here. If there was some way, because you can already do the different heads, the different hands, the shoulder pad accessories, if there were some way to change out the legs to where you could make them from the Road Warriors in the NWA to Legion of Doom and WWF, if there was some way to interchange those figures to have the parts necessary to do that, Storm has immediately hit a grand slam with those.
I don't think the figures will be out by the end of the year, but they will show off renderings by the end of the year.
I so hope that you're right, because we are long overdue for Road Warriors figures. I believe the last set of Road Warriors was that battle pack that had them in the blue shoulder pads. And gosh, even that was like in 2017? Maybe late 2016, something like that. So we are long overdue for a good set of Road Warriors / Legion of Doom figures.
Absolutely. So, sticking with a Storm prediction, what do you got?
I think Storm is going to make a great Muta figure this year. This year being 2020.
I was thinking that same thing. I didn't put it down on my list, but good call. I was thinking that as well.
So I'm going to say a dark horse to make Muta would be Super 7, as given with their Andre the Giant release that's coming out next year. I'm thinking it's either going to be Storm, who I'm really leaning towards, or it's going to be Super 7, but we're going to get a great Muta figure.
My next one, Super 7 will announce the second wave of New Japan figures before the first wave comes out.
I'm going to take it one step further and say that NJPW / Super 7 is going to announce that we're going to get a wrestling ring in 2021.
See, we talked to that gentleman from Super 7 just a couple weeks ago over at the San Jose Toy Show, and he wasn't too keen on the ring.
Right, but remember the guy that we talked to in October, when we mentioned rings and belts and things of that nature, he was very coy with it. So I think that they do have a ring planned. And I imagine it's not going to come in 2020, but they will make an announcement in 2020 stating that we'll see an NJPW ring from Super 7 in 2021.
Scott, what is your next prediction?
That rounds out my predictions. That's all of them, dude.
I've got one more. Something tells me that FTC is going to do something this year. And I don't know if they're going to add elite style figures with more articulation. I don't know if they're going to do that with them being a small company. I just don't know. I think Chris has something up his sleeve. Now, what it is, it could be a new series. It could be a new body style figure. He did mention that they are doing the figures from a new factory so they can hopefully get figures out faster. I believe FTC will be doing something that is going to keep them right up there with everyone. So with Mattel, with Super 7, with Boss Fight, I think that FTC is going to make a big play, and I think Chris has something up his sleeve. We haven't talked to Chris. Obviously, we don't know, but I feel that something is up there. Just need to find out what that is going to be in 2020.
Do you think that Chris's big play could be Impact Wrestling's license?
You know what? When I made that prediction, I never thought of that. And that is an excellent call. That very well could be.
Do you think there would be a conflict with them having the Ring of Honor license as well? Or do you think that those two can play well together? I mean, we know we're already getting a ton of figure from FTC in 2020. They have a lot of figures in the hopper, and 2020 is their slated release date. But I don't think it would hurt them to add another property like Impact. Impact definitely has a fan base, albeit not as big as WWE's, but they definitely have a fan base. And I'm wondering if those two licenses, ROH and Impact, can play well together under the FTC umbrella. And if so, that would be a great get for FTC for 2020.
That's an excellent call. I never even thought about that one when I made that prediction. I was thinking more, maybe a more articulated figure, maybe another series or another line as far as wrestling. I just felt that Chris has something up his sleeve that he hasn't tipped his hand yet, but I felt that it was coming in 2020. But the Impact contract would make sense.
They haven't had figures since Jax did them in the early 2010s. So yeah, I would really like to see Chris go after that license. There's definitely some names there to go after. So yeah, I would. They already did Sami Callihan, in addition to Moose, and there's a couple other guys under that umbrella that they've made figures of already, Brian Cage. But I would love to see them add Impact to their family. I think that would be great for FTC.
So Scott, before we started, you said you wanted to do reflections. So why don't you go into it?
Yeah, the last decade, it's been incredible. Not only did our podcast come in, we've made some great friends with this show. We're super blessed to know guys, and I don't want to drop any names, but because I would hate to leave somebody out, but just friends that we've made, specifically Breaker and Bane. Breaker was one of the first guys to find our show and be like, hey guys, I do a podcast too. I think we could really help each other out here. And Breaker was one of our first guests and just really kind of took us under his wing and really helped us out. And we had technical difficulties in our first interview with him. And he was so accommodating, and he didn't have to be, but he was. And that's just the person that he is. So Bane giving us these drops in between the show of the music and making our amazing outro song that both my wife and daughter, every time it comes on, they're singing along and they love it. And just to make friends like that is just a small example of the type of friends that we've made over the history of doing the show. So I want to give a big thank you to Breaker and Bane personally for just taking us under their wing, really, and becoming such good friends with us and doing everything for the show that they have over the years. I appreciate it. Christy Petrillo, thank you for doing the same. When we first started out, you were a guest on the show, and you really introduced us to your line, and we love it. That's why every show you're going to hear us mention FTC, and that's just because Chris coming on our show and being such a great guy and a good friend. Thank you for supporting our show. We truly appreciate that. Thank you to the listeners, each and every one of you, for making the toys that made us happen. If that's our peak, if we get no bigger than being on Netflix, I'm 100% okay with that because it was a team effort. You guys made it happen in more ways than one, and it's the pinnacle of anything that Jeff and I has ever accomplished. So a big thank you to you guys for making that happen. But Jeff, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't mention wrestlers that have passed over the last decade. And I just want to take a moment to remember guys like Dusty Rhodes, Rowdy Roddy Piper, the great Bobby Heenan, Harley Race, Macho Man Randy Savage, guys that we grew up watching admiring, falling in love with on our televisions each and every week. We've lost those people. Some of them we met, specifically Roddy Piper. You could not meet a better guy and get a better experience from it. The one that I equate Piper to now would be Kevin Owens, in the amount of time and the amount of effort that he puts into meeting each and every fan. Roddy Piper did that as well. And such a tremendous loss to the wrestling world. All those guys that I mentioned, those are just a few of them, but are definitely Mean Gene Okerlund as well. Just guys that really hit us the hardest because we grew up watching them, and it almost felt like you were losing a member of the family. Even if you never met them once, you still kind of felt like you knew them a little bit. So I just want to reflect on those guys, give them love, put them back in your guys' memory for a second. Nikolai Volkov, Big Van Vader, those guys as well. So just want to take a moment to remember those names as well. But really the message and the reflection is a huge thank you to everybody that's tuned in since we launched in 2016. You guys have made this show what it is today. We're nowhere without any of you. If you've bought a shirt, sent us a question, sent us a DM, hit us up on Twitter, sent us a text message, an email, whatever you did, if you reached out to us in any way, if you've touched our show, thank you. Just thank you for all the downloads. Thank you for the t-shirt purchases. Thank you for interacting with us. Everything that Jeff and I have today with this show is 100% due to you guys. So in reflecting over the last decade, that's my biggest takeaway, is each and every one of you. So thank you for being a part of this show with us.
To see the show grow over 4 years, it's amazing to me. And it's funny, I was talking to somebody and I happened to mention that when we started in 2016, we had the OG kind of Fig Lifers. We had the Mike the Cleaners. We had the Hovas. We had the GBMs. We had the Ethans. And I know I'm naming people and I know I'm leaving some people out and I apologize to you. But it's almost like this new crop of Fig Lifers came in. Tara Lynch, doing the favor guys, Drew Venzel, Jonathan Dobro, Cody Baker. They call them the Ohio players out there in Ohio, and it's those guys. But this new crop is just absolutely awesome that, they're kind of keeping this thing going along with the OGs that originally helped us get this off the ground. Now this new crop of Fig Lifers are kind of lifting us up. And to the OGs that kind of picked us up and were like, hey, these guys are awesome, you got to listen to them. To the new ones that still keep us going, to keep pushing out fresh content. Thank you guys. It's so much fun for us and we want to make it fun for you guys. The meetups are fun for us. They're some of the most memorable moments when we go to Mania. We want to grow this thing even bigger. We want to keep this thing going. Regarding the people that have passed, Scott, it hits harder and harder because we're watching our heroes pass.
Yeah.
Losing Dusty and Piper within about 2 or 3 months of each other, man, that was a heart-wrencher.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like we just got over Dusty and then we lose Piper. Losing Savage, that was one of the hardest ones. I want to thank you for bringing that to the show of all the wrestlers that have passed away this decade. These were part of our childhoods. These were guys that were making memories for us to continue something like this onto the show. Thank you for the memories that you guys gave us, and we will definitely be missing you. So, very well said, Scott.
Thank you. And just one more thing. Who knows where the hashtag FigLife is going to carry on in the new decade? It's gotten bigger and bigger since 2016. As Jeff mentioned, we've had our OGs. We've had more people join on. And a lot of people are just really loving being a part of this FigLife, whether it be through figure photography, as we mentioned a couple every single week on this show, whether it be through people helping people find figures, whether it just be Figure Friday and sharing pictures of your collections. This figure community has grown in so many ways, and this hashtag FigLife means something different to everybody. But no matter what it means to you, every time you use that hashtag FigLife, you're growing the community. So if you're a part of it and you've bought into it, thank you so much. Because without you guys, this show and that hashtag FigLife dies on the vine many, many years ago. But because of your support, you've carried that torch, and we're carrying it into the new decade. And I can't wait to see how much bigger it grows and where it goes next. So just again, thank you to everybody that keeps this show going, that keeps that community of the hashtag FigLife going. And if you've supported us, again, Thank you.
Also, another one I want to throw out. I don't want to leave anybody out, but one person I do want to mention is Ryan over at Wrestling Toy Tracker. I want to mention him because he's been a big supporter of the show. And I know we mention him every week, but Ryan has been a big part of this. And I want to thank Ryan over at Wrestling Toy Tracker. I'll get his plug out of the way. If you guys are in the hunt for Galoobs, Hasbros, LJNs, Retros, whatever it may be, hit up Wrestling Toy Tracker to see if you're getting the fair price on your figures if you're going in the hunt for them. But I do want to thank Ryan because Ryan is an awesome guy and he's special to the show, and want to thank him for helping this thing grow. And hopefully I can partner up with him about some ideas. So,
well, and he's offering a hell of a service too, right? Because as we spoke about earlier, the Toys That Made Us just aired last month, and you're starting to see prices go up a little bit. And if you're in the market for those older figures, specifically the LJNs, the Hasbros, the Retros, if you're in the market for any of the Galoobs as well, if you're in the market for any of those, make sure you don't get ripped off and follow Ryan, because he's going to make sure that you're getting a fair price on figures that you're looking for. So definitely follow him. Use his tools that he's offering you if you're in the market for those older figures. They're definitely coming in handy. And I can tell you, Tim in Stockton at a chair shot on Twitter, when he had the guy that we saw at the San Jose Toy Show a couple weeks ago, when we had those two talking on the phone, Tim was using Toy Tracker's service, and he was making sure that he was getting a fair shake. So definitely use that tool, guys, if you're in the market for those older figures. Ryan's helping you out.
Absolutely. And Scott, you kind of basically thanked the podcasting buddies. I'll kind of reiterate what you said. Breaker and Bane are just awesome, awesome friends, and we're going to be hanging out with Breaker in Tampa, and I can't wait for that. Eric and Barry over at Doing the Favor, those guys endeared themselves to this community. And one thing I love seeing is when you guys use that hashtag legwork and hashtag figlife in the same tweet, because it's kind of like the mega powers doing the shake, that's exactly what it's like. And I love seeing that. And it's just the community coming together and growing even more. The PPW podcast, Steve and Eric over there, Steve has been a huge supporter of ours. He was at the first meetup. He was at the second meetup. And I believe he's going to be at this meetup. Fingers crossed. Yeah. I look forward to seeing that guy anytime I can, because Steve is just one of those genuine guys. Marty DeRosa helped us get a few listeners back in the day when we did that 2-hour interview with him. That was a lot of fun.
Still one of the most fun interviews I've done to date. We had so much fun talking to Marty, and he and Sarah are just the most genuine people you'll ever want to meet. I can't wait to see them at WrestleCon. Just give them both a big hug. Just awesome, awesome people.
So anyways, there's our podcasting buddies. And Scott, I know you are going to be doing some drunk history wrestling talk coming up in San Diego.
Yeah, we sure are. We're doing about 4 or 5 episodes. I think it's 5 episodes. We're going to have a replacement host for those episodes because we're unable to get Adam Skyped in. So we're going to actually have Ed's wife, Carissa, taking over the host duties. And she's armed herself with notes. She's going to be drinking as well. So where we normally have Ed and I being the dummies that are hammered, she's going to be hammered with us. So we're going to have a drunken host. And we're going to be recording 5 episodes. I don't want to tip our hand as to what those 5 episodes are going to be. I will say WrestleMania 3 is going to be one of them. That's all you guys get. That will be your spoiler, is that WrestleMania 3 will be discussed. And you're probably going to hear the Fig Life wife jump in there, because it's going to be the 4 of us hanging out in a timeshare hotel room. We've got 3 microphones. We've got a mixer. We've got a laptop. And we've got 5 shows to record. And there's lots of whiskey to be drunk. So that's going to be happening in San Diego. I'll keep you guys updated when that material will be releasing. But we're kind of changing the format, a replacement host. We're going to have better notes this time around. The whiskey is going to be just as flowing as it was for our first 4 episodes. So again, you can find the Drunk Wrestling History on iTunes, Spotify, anywhere you're finding Fully Poseable. You can find Drunk Wrestling History. Give us a follow on Twitter at wrestling_drunk.
And Scott, do you have a roll call this week?
I do. I don't want to forget about promoting Eagle Moss. Those guys are giving you those great WWE statues in addition to other pop culture statues. They have a bunch of properties under their umbrella. Give them a follow on Twitter at HeroCollector_ if you have a pop culture or wrestling fan in your life and you're looking for a gift that is not too expensive. Definitely go check out what Eagle Moss has to offer. Their wrestling statues are incredible. The likenesses are spot on. Give them a follow on Twitter Check out their products at HeroCollector_roll call. Of course, I have to throw it out to our great artist, Jason Wolf. Give him a follow on Twitter at JasonWLF. If you need artwork, tell him Fully Poseable sent you. And Jason Wolf is your guy. He's quick. He offers a perfect drawing, whatever it is you're looking for. If you want to have a t-shirt made, if you want a print done, definitely hit up Jason. Let him know Fully Poseable sent you. He'll take care of you. Give him a follow on Twitter at JasonWLF. If you want enamel pins, specifically the Ric Flair Royal Rumble 92 pin, with a tear in your eye, follow at Pollyanna DIY on Twitter. That is at Pollyanna with 2 N's, DIY. And I want to throw it out to some figure photographers this week, Jeff. First up, Sean Welch Photos. Give him a follow on Twitter at Sean, that's SEAN, Welch Photos. Unboxed Alliance on Twitter at Unboxed Alliance. Matt S. Give him a follow at Matt with 2 T's, S4400. And finally, V Trigger Figs. Give him a follow on Twitter at V Trigger Figs. I wish I could throw it out to all the figure photographers, but I will say I hope you all had a great Christmas and a very happy New Year.
Absolutely. And I'm going to just kind of reiterate what I said last week. If you guys are going to be drinking on New Year's Eve, stay home or stay at your spot wherever you are. Get an Uber home. Don't drive. Be safe. Happy New Year's to you guys. We had a fantastic 2019 for the show. We're hoping to do bigger things in 2020. So for all that said, Scott, anything else?
Have a safe and happy New Year. If you guys are drinking, please Uber. There's no excuses anymore. Uber's cheap. Get to where you need to be safely. This show is not sponsored by Uber, but I want to give them a plug because they do great things. Just please get an Uber. Don't drink and drive. There's no excuses for that crap anymore. It's so cheap to get an Uber, and it's way cheaper than a DUI. So please, get an Uber if you're out drinking and partying. I hope you guys have a very safe and a very happy and joyful New Year. Thank you for coming along with this ride on us since 2016. Each and every one of you is so greatly appreciated. Thank you for everything that you've done for Jeff and I for this show. Fig Life since 2016, and happy toy hunting.
And we are going to have big news for you guys next week. It's going to be the return of something. So tune in next week. Thank you to everyone for listening to episode 206. Hashtag Fig Life. Adios.
Yeah. Fully Poseable. Let's go. Jeff and Scott, the Toon Brothers, busting out the ring, but we don't take it out the box. MOC. Happy toy hunting. We'll see you next week with the OGs, the WFP. Fully Poseable, thank you all for listening. It ain't no storyline, real life siblings. So everybody go and do your toy spotting. Hashtag Fig Life, adios from the Kings.